Good evening. This Board of Trustees regular meeting is called to order at 4:31 p.m. We welcome members of the public. Instructions on making public comment are posted in item 1 on the agenda. We will ask at each item if there is public comment. Catherine, can you please do roll call?
Absolutely. Trustee Baker.
Here.
Trustee Dodd is absent tonight. Trustee Kishnev.
Here.
Trustee Iverson.
Here.
Trustee DeLuna is probably late.
She is likely not coming. She had a family emergency.
Oh, okay. Student trustee Gonzalez.
Here.
Trustee Rios
Here.
and trustee Olson.
Here.
Yeah.
Trustee Gonzalez, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we gather today, it is important to acknowledge that Napa Valley College and the surrounding Napa Valley sit on the unceded traditional, ancestral, and contemporary homelands of the Miwok, Patwin, who are comprised of 3 federally recognized tribes, the Kachil-Dehi Band of Winton Indians of the Calusa Indian Community, the Quetzal-Dehi Band of Winton Indians, and the Yocha-Dehi Winton Nation, and Wapo, including the Mishawa-Wapo, also known as the Onotsatis peoples. As part of Napa Valley College's mission of transforming lives through excellent educational and professional opportunities that are student-centered, equity-focused, and community-oriented, and in accordance with the college's values of accountability, integrity, inclusion, respect, social justice, and sustainability, we make this acknowledgement. We also affirm that this acknowledgement is insufficient. It does not undo the harm that has been and continues to be perpetrated against Indigenous people, the land, and water. May we hold steady in our commitment to be in solidarity and in action to seek equity and justice with the Miwok, Patwin, and Wapo peoples. Are there any changes to the agenda? We'll adopt the agenda by consensus. All right, we are now going to open up constituent group reports. Priya Sharma, Danielle Alexander, Jasenia Gota. Do you have a report? Hi, good evening.
Yes, simple, sweet and short one today. Good evening, everyone. I definitely want to acknowledge my classified colleagues and faculty colleagues that were present at in this space at the last board meeting, along with our community and student support as well. As far as negotiations, we do seem to be very far apart, and you all have our counter proposal currently, and we hope that you consider it and that you offer us a fair counter proposal to what we have currently, and that we can take back to our membership for their consideration. And yeah, we're also very eager to ratify our next 3-year contract, should it be decent and fair. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Jasenia. Christine Tapia, she online?
Her report is posted,
Okay,
as is Dr. Kronzer's.
great. How about John Kinchelo? Okay. All right, at this time, the board will devote a total of up to 15 minutes to hear comments regarding closed session agenda items. Individual comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Catherine, is there public comment?
No.
At this time, the board will move into closed session covering conference with labor negotiators and public employee performance evaluation, and we will return at around 5:30. Solar. That was kind of fun. This public hearing on the energy services agreement with FFP BTM Solar LLC is now open. Is there any public comment?
No, there is not.
Okay, this public hearing is now closed at 5:30 PM. Oh, wait, where's Torrance? Okay. Public comment, general. This public comment opportunity is governed by the California Brown Act. By definition, this is an opportunity to hear concerns, perspectives, and differing vantage points. The board is not able, under the Brown Act, to engage in any level of conversation or discussion, but we look forward to this opportunity to gather community input. At this time, the board will devote up to 15 minutes to review comment to the Board of Trustees regarding any subject not appearing as an agenda item for this meeting, but over which the board has jurisdiction. No action or discussion will occur at this time on such items. Each comment shall last no longer than 3 minutes. Catherine, bless you. Is there any public comment?
No, there is not.
All right, we are going to move to the approval of our consent calendar. Does any trustee have questions about any of the items on the consent calendar?
Move approval.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Trustee Baker made the motion and trustee Iverson seconded. Motion passes. We are now on item 10.1, annual report and annual fiscal report submissions to accrediting commission for community and junior colleges. Mr. Reeves and Ms. Warnall.
I'll defer to Dr. Wardell.
Good evening, board. I and Vice President Jim Reeves are here to share 2 reports that were submitted to the Accrediting Commission for Community and Junior Colleges, the ACCJC, earlier this month. The 2 reports are the annual report and the annual fiscal report. And as implied by their names, both reports are required annual submissions to the ACCJC. And the ACCJC uses these reports to monitor recent trends among member institutions, including enrollments and institutional effectiveness metrics, and changes that might be cause for concern or trigger something like a change in institutional mission. You might recall that NVC was placed on enhanced fiscal monitoring some years ago, and that was based on the annual fiscal report submission that year. Both reports are attached to this agenda item, and the annual report contains data on enrollments and institutional performance metrics for the past 3 years. The annual fiscal report, or the AFR, contains information pertaining to institutional finances for the past 3 years. I'm going to provide an overview and a summary of the annual report, and then Jim will do something similar for the AFR. So the annual report is the mechanism that the ACCJC uses to monitor enrollment trends, including institutional headcount, enrollment in degree applicable courses, and the number of students attending via distance education. For any annual change in or a program level change in enrollment that exceeds 50%, we're required to provide some additional information about the change. This year's report has been expanded to include information about the proportion of students enrolled in at least one distance education course, as well as the proportion of courses offered through distance education. And these questions are intended to address new requirements at the federal level. The ACCJC also uses the annual report to collect information on our institution's set standards, stretch goals, and actual performance on those metrics. Our average performance over the past 3 years has met the established standards, with the sole exception of the number of transfers to UC and CSU institutions. We're also required to report the standard stretch goals and performance at the program level for job placement rates and licensure exam pass rates for our career-related and health occupations programs. The actual job placement rates reported for all NVC programs the past 3 years has exceeded the established standards. And the licensure exam pass rates for a couple of programs did dip below the established standard. And the program level data is shared with the deans and faculty in those programs through program review and following the submission of the annual report to the ACCJC each year so that they're informed of that. Next year, the planning committee will review the institution set standards and stretch goals that were established back in 2019. And we will likely recommend some revisions based on recent performance data. Faculty at the same time, faculty within the CTE and health occupations programs will also revisit the standards and stretch goals that they established. Finally, I want to share some information about a new initiative of the ACCJC. The initiative pertains to data sharing on the college website, tailored to specific audiences, and including disaggregation, reflective discussion, and storytelling around data. And it's intended to increase transparency around institutional outcomes. Also, the ACCJC has developed a rubric for member institutions to evaluate themselves and to encourage continuous improvement regarding data sharing via the website. And Jenna and I will be coordinating to structure the website to begin implementing improvements in this area. The ACCJC is also developing some public dashboards, which are expected to go live in June of this year. The ACCJC is also in the process of developing an instrument to help monitor performance as reported by member institutions via the annual report. This is a change for this year. This will reflect the process that the ACCJC uses to monitor performance related to the annual fiscal report. And that instrument will yield an index that will be used internally by the ACCJC to describe recent improvements in performance among member institutions in the spirit of continuous improvement. And the instrument will be piloted prior to implementation. So that's the annual report. And now, Jim, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Warnell. It's important to note here that this ACCJC reporting period concluded on June 30th, 24. So the data you're seeing is not unusual to you. But if you think about what we're doing today, I'll point this out later in the report. It doesn't look exactly correct, but it is correct. So scrolling down, you may recall that as Dr. Warnell mentioned, we were on enhanced monitoring beginning in late 21. We came off of enhanced monitoring just a year short of 1 year of going on. And we were advised by staff at ACCJC that rarely happens. So they usually takes two years or more to come off. So I think the actions by the board and by college staff to move us in a more positive direction certainly paid off and resulted in very solid results. So these are our revenue and expenditure dollars is spent. You'll see in fiscal year 23-24, our total unrestricted general fund revenues just about 50 million. We had some other smaller funds, revenue areas, but generally this is consistent with what we reported both in our monthly reports and in our audit. Scrolling down, we noticed what are called one-time funds, and HERF funds are considered one-time funds and are not sustainable. So ACCJC has asked us to identify those, and we have. With respect to, let's go down to 5 unrestricted general fund beginning and ending balances. These are funds that beginning balances for the year and ending balances. It gives you a sense of how we started and ended. And this generally is reflective of the growth in our reserves. So you'll see in number 5A, we started 23-24 at $6.9 million, effectively our reserves, and grew that by just over $1 million in 24. In the previous year, you saw a larger jump there, over $2 million. That's largely as a result of that increased property tax revenue we saw. an anomaly, I think, historically, but we saw that realized in that particular year. Again, the unrestricted general fund balance has been positive and growing over the 3-year period. Our expenditures, number 6, you can see our expenditures these are unrestricted general fund expenditures. In 6A, you'll see it's been fairly consistent, slight increase in 24 of about $700,000, about $800,000, but generally pretty stable in terms of expenditures, total expenditures. And then unrestricted general fund salaries and benefits, you can see how they've changed. In 21, 22, we're at 36 million. You may recall the dynamic occurring around that time, that we were recognizing that we were overstaffed based on the number of students we were serving, which prompted the institution to look at SERPs in terms of reducing staffing. So you'll see that our expenses dropped to 34 million in 22, 23, and bumped up a little bit in 23, 24. Number 7 is important to the board and important to disclose. Did we borrow funds for cash flow purposes? No, no, and no. That's a good and strong position and is reflective of our reserves and our ability to meet our cash demands when we are at low points in our revenue, receipt of revenues. Our short-term borrowing or trans, we had nothing there. Numbers 9, did the district issue unrestricted long-term debt instruments? No, that's effectively the same question. And then if we move down to, let's see, where's our total OPEB liability, number 11, is about $32 million. And that's the liability incurred because of other post-employment benefits, including the lifetime medical benefit for eligible employees. That's largely that, and it's projected over time, over a long time. So that's a liability certainly that's important to us, and over time we need to figure out how we're going to manage that so we can address that cost. I'll share with you that our current costs are being paid pay-as-you-go basis out of our unrestricted general fund. In more financially advanced institutions, I'll say, we put those funds away, earning interest, and they draw on those as they need them, independent of the unrestricted general fund. Let's see. The next big one here, I think we can move down to 20, if you don't mind. No, I'm sorry, go to 16. I think we want to look at cash balances at June 30 from annual CCF 311 report. You can see our cash balances. This is all of our cash. Our cash in 21-22 was around $10 million. You have to remember that this is also funds for categorical programs and grant funds that are on hand. It doesn't say they're restricted or unrestricted. You also see in 22-23, $43.4 million in cash reserves. I will share with you the footnote to that is that because we're receiving that $31 million from the state for the housing that came through the campus and sent out to the construction project. And then in fiscal year 23-24, you can see $25 million in cash balances. So we are much healthier than we were. And that part is very promising, certainly in terms of our cash flow and our ability to meet our pay obligations, our pay demand obligations. Then down to 20 here from the summary of the audit. Thanks, Keith. The audit report, number of modified qualified opinions. It says our audits have been unmodified and unqualified. They are unqualified in the parlance of accounting means that they have not placed any qualifications on the opinion. Effectively, they are clean audits, which is a positive report. 21 is our actual FTEs. You'll see that we've been budgeting pretty closely to our actuals are pretty close to our budgets, as you'll see. So I think we're looking, one of our educational master plans is enrollment stabilization. I think we're seeing some efforts, some results of some efforts to stabilize there. Clearly was some work to go. 22A does the report. Did the institution settle any contracts with the bargaining units? Remember, I opened with, this is through fiscal year 24. And at that point, we did not settle any bargaining units because they were still technically active. Did any negotiations remain open at that time? No, they had technically the negotiations for that contract or no. How many unit contracts remained open for over 2 years? 0. And then I noted in 22D, faculty and classified contracts expired 6/30/24. Negotiations were initiated in the spring of 24 and continue at this writing. Then we talk about transitions, 24A. We talk about executive and senior administrative positions. I'm pleased to report this is the first time in a few years there have been 0 changes in executive positions over the last 2 years, and that presents stability to ACCJC and our many stakeholders. And then I certified the report. And that would conclude my report, and certainly Dr. Warnell can answer any questions.
I had one question about the UC and CSU degrees. Are we unique on the drop, or is that across the state?
So, member institution, it's not, the data submitted to the ACCJC is not public in terms of, that's what they're working on for the dashboards moving forward. So I can't answer that, but one of the institutions that standards are established locally. So not every California community college has the same ones as we do, but there are, one thing that we've experienced locally is that our transfer rates have not increased or kind of recovered since COVID, remained lower than they have been traditionally.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Dr. Warnall, Mr. Reeves. Next item on the agenda is a resolution in honor of Napa Valley College classified professionals. I'm going to read the resolution, and then this is an action item. Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Napa Valley Community College District in honor of Napa Valley College classified professionals. Whereas Napa Valley College classified professionals are an important, valued, and essential part of the educational team whose shared goal is to provide access to outstanding college programs and services. And whereas through their professionalism, teamwork, and dedication, classified professionals have raised the reputation of the college and the community and enhanced the educational experience of countless students. And whereas by the high standards they set for themselves, they demonstrate a drive for excellence and contribute in a most meaningful way to the effective implementation of the college's mission. And whereas they welcome students, parents, community users, and other guests to the campus with warmth, generosity of spirit, and a keen drive to provide excellent service, thereby enhancing the success of events, activities, and interactions throughout. And whereas they are a modest and self-sacrificing group who work behind the scenes to accomplish much through competing deadlines, crowded days, and ever-evolving challenges and mandates. And whereas our many long-serving professionals have provided stability and continuity to the institution by ably training and mentoring new staff at all levels, providing institutional memory and sharing their depth of knowledge with anyone in need. Now, therefore, be it resolved on the 17th day of April, 2025, that the Board of Trustees, faculty, and administrative staff sincerely offer thanks and compliments to the classified professionals of Napa Valley College. Is there any, is there public comments? Yes, is there any comments from the trustees? Public comment first? No. Okay, comment from the trustees. Motion to approve?
I'll move approval of the resolution.
Second.
Is there discussion from the trustees? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Trustee Baker made the motion and trustee Rios seconded. All right, Next action item is 12.1, Associated Students of Napa Valley College, ASNVC governing bylaws. Is there a public comment?
No, there is not.
I see Omar. Come on up, Omar.
Omar is here to answer questions should you have any.
Okay, great. Can I ask for a motion, please? I'll second. All right, discussion. What's your question, trustee?
Yeah, so the main updates were, and hello to everybody. The main updates were kind of having more specific language for the stipends and kind of changing a little bit how those would be distributed. So rather than waiting just for one stipend for the end of the year, it would be a stipend at the end of each semester. The amount would stay the same, and having like a specific amount on the stipends rather than having a little bit too much flexibility if students wanted to increase the stipends if they felt that they wanted to that year. So we felt that it was a little bit more important to have a structured amount for the stipends each year. So that was the main change. There were some other, I would say, smaller changes too, but the bulk of the changes would be around the stipends.
Hi. Bye.
Good evening, everyone. So I wanted to start with a little bit of history to ground us on where we are. It was 5 years and 1 month ago that the COVID pandemic was declared. And subsequent to that, in February of 2023, Governor Newsom declared the end to the state of emergency in California. Those 2 years during the pandemic, as I think many of you well recall, the California Community College system was directed to move coursework online, except in cases that were considered essential. So we had a period where predominance of courses were online. And one of the challenges that the colleges in our system faced was how to come back after the pandemic. So this report provides those 3 post-pandemic years of context about how our modality of course offerings have been distributed. So starting in academic year 23-24, you can see, as I did last month, I've divided courses into these 4 broad categories. The first being 100% in person, the second being hybrid, and that encompasses a range of different distributions, but there must be some in-person component. The third being online asynchronous, which means that students can avail themselves of the class at any time of day. There are no scheduled meetings. And the last category is online synchronous. Those have scheduled class times that are being conducted via Zoom. So then the first 2 categories, because they both have in-person components, are combined together for the modality total that you'll see in that column. So in 23-24, you can see there were 243 courses that were offered in the combined in-person and hybrid modality, and 206 in the online asynchronous or synchronous. You can see in the next semester in spring, a relatively similar picture. Summer session, I will note, and you'll see this historically, has been traditionally more online, and that has been true prior to the pandemic. It's a very different animal, if you will, from the fall and spring semesters. Then moving to 24-25, and I think we may have skipped ahead 1 year. So if we could backtrack real quick to 22-23. Yes. No worries. Thank you so much. Yeah, so 22, 23, that is the year coming out of the pandemic when we were still offering predominantly online. So you'll see the 247 classes online and 184 in person. So the majority was still in the online mode. 23, 24, we started to get a little bit of a shift. And then moving ahead to 24, 25, this academic year, you can see that that has flipped. So we are predominantly in-person or hybrid, 256 sections in the fall, in the spring, 271 sections compared to a smaller number. You can see this spring, we're at our largest number of in-person or hybrid offerings. Summer, again, is a different thing. Our students have really gravitated toward online offerings in the summer, and that has held true over time. And if we can go to the next slide, you can see a depiction of what that looks like when we compare the 3 years. Especially looking at this graph, you can see we're basically flip-flopped in terms of the percentages. So we are predominantly in-person or hybrid. I will say that Napa Valley College has more hybrid sections than is common across our system. So that's one thing that's a little bit different. But in terms of the distribution, if we can go to the next slide. This shows some trends throughout the state. That was one of the questions that one of the board members had asked last time. What does this look like relative to the other 115 colleges in our system? And you can see that the current state of affairs, and at that time, this is the latest data that they had for this graph, was 22, 23, that the traditional courses were 59% and online 41%. So this note is from an EdSource article. You can find the link here that provides a little bit of that analysis and assessment. And the quote on the right, more than 40% of community college classes remain online statewide as of this year. This is about double of what it was before the pandemic. Most institutions had 20% or fewer courses that were in an online mode. But as students have grown accustomed to that modality, they are seeking online courses. So we still have a lot of demand for that. So as I mentioned, we have this mix of courses and really it serves a lot of different needs. And we will continue, I believe we'll continue to have a stronger online set of offerings than pre-pandemic. We're not going back to the pre-pandemic times, but we have adjusted to meet that wider distribution that our students are seeking. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
No questions?
Not so much a question, but a comment. It's just nice to see classes moving to in-person again like that.
I do have a kind of question. I was wondering if the trend to stay with either hybrid or online is, I know it's being driven by students, but is it also being driven by faculty or staff that don't want to return to work?
I think there are a combination of factors, but I will say, when we look at comparisons with other institutions, last time I mentioned that there are some schools that have remained like 60% online. They're still back in the 22, 23 period. So yes, there's interest, I think, from different groups on having online as an option, but our scheduling practices must be built to serve students. And that is the message that I've consistently sent every semester. And where we see that there's student demand for in-person classes, we will build those sections. That's the bottom line. The truth is that in my first year here, the in-person classes were filling the slowest. And that has started to shift a little bit, but we're really trying to respond as much as we possibly can to what we're seeing in the case of student demand.
Thank you, Dr. Mora. Academic affairs information. Oh, we just did that. Administrative services information. Unrestricted general fund, Mr. Reeves.
Thank you, President Olson. Quickly, this is a report that you're all very familiar with. I'll move through it quickly. You can see at the very top right, we're at 9/12 of the fiscal year, or at 75%. So looking down the right column, you might want to just generally compare where we are in the fiscal year with where we are in our revenues and expenses. Our revenue we're at 64% of budget, and we're at about $1 million ahead of where we were at this time last year. Our revenues don't act quite as predictably as we might like. So that's why you'll see a 64% at 75% of the year. It will gain speed toward the end of the year. On the expense side, you'll notice that we're at 70% in total salaries. A reminder that we have a set aside for CBAs, collective bargaining agreements, both for faculty and staff, that has been untapped yet. So that's still a portion of the budget that has not been spent, and that gives rise to that positive variance in salaries at 70%. Very much the same in our benefits side. We're at 69% for the very same reason. Books and supplies, we're at 70%, despite that 151% variance at the top there. We're still in very good shape there. Relative to operating supplies, we're right at 75%. We have a little bit of a positive, a negative variance there, but largely due to some timing, but some more expenditure in that line item. I think it's maintenance and repairs, it looks like, than we expected. But overall, we're at 75%. In total expenditures, line 68, that's also the important one. We're at 69% of our budget at 75% of the year. We're at about $2.1 million, just under $2.1 million less expenditure than we were at this point, than we were last year. So that's a very positive trend, certainly in terms of expenditures to date. Remembering, of course, that we have not committed those salary and benefits dollars, but even if we did, I think we're still looking positive. So that would conclude my report.
Thank you. Action item FFP BTN Solar LLC contract, Mr. Reeves.
Thank you, President Olson. I'd like to introduce again, I think he's been here 4, 5, maybe 6 times by now, Mr. Nate Smithide with Forefront Energy. And you may recall that he's been here a few times introducing his project, and after some feedback from the board and others, has come back to provide us a proposal that meets our expectations and addresses those comments and input prior to tonight. So Nate, please.
Thank you, Jim. Hey, everyone. It's me again. Wanted to review the consolidated proposal, updated proposal, starting out with the layout. So we've superimposed the design for student housing, which is now reflective of the actual student housing structure, which looks really good. It's a 500 kW parking canopy, solar canopy layout. Nothing has changed since the last iteration, just the actual image itself. Next slide, please. Same thing with the parking lot outside. That's currently the area we're looking to build out the solar parking canopy on campus. Again, just as a refresher, your Bloom fuel cells are operating as they should be. And this project would take the campus. You have one main meter on campus. You have a medium voltage loop that it serves. Would take the campus to zero net energy by providing, the remaining renewable energy required to essentially, altogether in terms of your generation and your power consumption, provide resiliency to the campus in terms of buying energy from PG&E, because you're getting power from your fuel cell and then you're getting electrons from your solar project. Next slide, please. We had questions about battery storage the last time we spoke. We ran essentially small, medium, and large iterations for the battery storage at the main campus, so just right out there in the parking lot. And what we found in all of our sensitivities were that fixed costs were overwhelming battery storage economics. So the battery, and I've tried to highlight this in a draw, kind of like a graphic in the bottom left-hand side of the slide. A battery provides value not as necessarily a backup battery or resiliency, but at this scale via demand reduction. So that's what's being visualized there is, the battery fires off electrons during peak times of consumption from the grid and saves the college money that way. It also provides energy arbitrage, so it'll absorb energy during peak pricing and discharge during off-peak pricing. Those two value streams are not providing enough value to the college in the form of savings to justify the costs of the battery. So take it for what it is, but I'm incentivized to provide projects, and Jim and I discussed this, and it's just not the right fit right now based on pretty prohibitive project costs related to the battery. This does not preclude the college from chasing a battery in the future. You can always update PG&E applications post project completion with a battery. So as battery storage technology becomes more efficient and those fixed costs go down, the value of demand reduction and energy arbitrage is increased, then hopefully the outweighed cost benefit analysis right now tips in the favor of the college. Next slide, please. Consolidated the savings here. So at student housing, you'll see that we're still utilizing our NEM 2.0 interconnection application there. That has a build deadline based on its interconnection configuration of February 2027. So the kind of main target here is to get going on the student housing project to finish that up by February 2027. That is saving money from the jump. And then we have a smaller project outside this building. Again, we removed the scope of the demolition and removal of and replacement of your existing ground mount project out back. So that's no longer in the scope of the project. We did agree on including the CMU wall, which is a way to keep the presumable eyesore. I don't think it's necessarily eyesore of, electrical equipment from the parking lot, kind of out of sight, out of mind. So that's been included in the scope of work as well. And then the project out here in the parking lot will be NEM 3.0, or also it's now called net billing tariff. The goal was to try to, as we reduce the capacity of the prior iteration of the project, we were going to try to accommodate the reduced capacity, keep our NEM 2.0 application by including battery storage. But as we found with the battery storage sensitivities, it wasn't enough capacity to keep our interconnection application with NEM 2 on this project alive. Unfortunately, PG&E does not allow you to reduce your interconnection size by more than 20% and retain your interconnection application. So that's the story with the project outside. Both of the savings analyses include relatively, and spur the joint powers authority in which you'd be piggybacking off of to procure these projects, mandates this assumption, but pretty conservative utility escalation rates. You can see 2.7 for energy and 5% for demand. What we've seen PG&E do in the last 3 years is more like 7-10% year over year. So hopefully this is, under promising savings, because no one really knows what's going to happen with utility rates. So that's an important detail on this slide. Next slide, please. And that's it. So contingent upon board approval, we'd get going with project development. We'd focus primarily on the student housing project to make sure that that's not that this project would go by the wayside by any means, but just a tighter timeline to build that, to make sure that we're hitting our build deadline for NIM 2.0.
Right, thank you. Can I get a motion, please?
Move approval.
A second?
Second.
Trustee Baker moved for approval and trustee Rio seconded. Is there a discussion or questions?
I just had a question on the timeline and how that impacts,
Mhm.
campus life. Doing it like when no one's here or 5.
Yeah, that's an open discussion. So we're able to work with the college's schedule. We build these exact type of projects all the time with community colleges, with much larger footprints. Granted, the student housing is, will comprise the entire parking lot. So it'll just be a matter of, us coordinating with staff and making sure that we're mitigating, overlap, trying to reduce overlap and retain day-to-day operations.
How long of a project was it?
Yeah, the heavy stuff is probably 2 or 3 months. They're both relatively small projects. And then, once the big stuff is like, drilling the columns. And once everything is erected and all of the steel is in place, then the parking lot disruption become much less substantial. So the heavy stuff is, probably 6 to 8 weeks, especially with this scale project.
Are there vehicle charging stations included in this project?
Yes. So what will happen is the architect of record will come out for both projects and assess so DSA, the Department of State Architects, requires EV charging stations now whenever you touch a parking lot. So what will happen is we'll understand how many EV charging stations will be required to be included in the project. And then it's important also to note, everyone, that there will also likely be ADA upgrades as well whenever you touch a parking lot. So those two will keep those two specifically, geotech a little bit less so, as sort of like an unknown variable at this point, because we don't know exactly what the AOR is going to tell us in terms of quantity of EV charging stations or quantity of ADA, until that design is at 90p and through the submission process. So that's something that we'll keep track of. And I'm happy to deliver periodic updates to the board in terms of where we're at with EV charging, ADA, and something like geotech, which we wouldn't know right now.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I can just add a comment. When we're looking at the savings projections, it's important to note that the projections, the savings from the student housing program don't accrue directly to the college. They go through the housing program to reduce their expenses and ultimately find their way to the college, but they're in the way of total expenses and revenue at the end of the day that comes back to the college. So I just want to be careful that we're not looking for a check from that includes the student housing project directly.
Okay, all in favor passing this?
I have a
Oh, one more
question.
question. Go
I'm
ahead.
curious how much it would add to the project to add the battery. How much are we saving by not having it?
Yeah.
And why aren't we having the discussion here at the board?
Yeah, the primary driver on the battery was the fixed costs associated with the installation of the battery. So when we looked at, we modeled, a 200 kW battery, a 400 kW battery, and an 800 kW battery based on the demand profile of the college. You can't build a battery that's bigger than your max demand. Essentially, the utility won't allow it. So when we gathered all of that information, what was hanging up the battery was really the installation and labor costs, which were upwards of $1 million on a battery that was unable, based on the load profile that's being created by your fuel cell, tends to flatten out everything. And as what I'm showing here is that batteries provide value with a spiky load profile, right? As everything is on, say, during peak pricing, PG&E charges you a premium for that. The fuel cell is actually providing a lot of base load power, which is actually doing a really good job of reducing your demand spikes. So that big cost of installation and labor and commissioning and doing everything to get the battery in the ground was overwhelming the somewhat underwhelming value of the battery, if that makes sense.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Passing this.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great to see you all again.
You too. See you in a couple months. Okay. Okay, item 14.3, Wine Education Center Phase 1, change of order. Mr. Reeves.
Thank you again, President Olson. This change order is a construction change order at the Wine Education Center. I'll share with you that the threshold for board approval is 80,000, but I thought this was close enough that in the spirit of true transparency, I wanted to bring this here. Recall that this is phase 1 of the Wine Education Center, fully funded by funding from the foundation, primarily from the Wine Spectator. So there's no economic impact on the institution. And we have had Kitchell review the change order to validate whether these are reasonable kinds of changes and the costs are reasonable given what the market conditions are today. So that would conclude my background report.
Is there public comment?
No, there's not.
All right, can I please have a motion of approval in a second?
Second.
Trustee Baker moved for approve and Trustee Rios seconded. Is there any discussion?
Zero.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 14.4, audiovisual system contract award for Wine Education Center project. Mr. Reeves.
Thank you again, President Olson. This is a publicly bid project portion of the Wine Education Center and is included in the budget. And because of the amount of the bid, it requires board approval. Again, this is included in the Wine Education Project Phase 1, has no financial impact on the institution, has been vetted. We had 3 responses, I think, to the RFP. And after careful review, we determined that the best value is with this vendor. So staff recommends adoption or approval of this based on going through the public procurement process. So that would conclude my background report.
Okay,
Move approval. Second.
is there public comment?
No, ma'am.
All right, Trustee Rios moved to approve and Trustee Kishinev seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to board policy review and adoption, we had first reading of board policies. Are there any questions about any of the documents?
Just a comment. I noticed in a couple there were some errors, missing words or an extra word. One was the student trustee, and the other one I think was the last one. And I didn't print it out and mark it, but
I'll reread.
yeah, I just point out that I did see that I think there was a missing word or an extra word, one or the other, in each of those.
2015 and the other one, do you recall?
The other one was the Civic Center, I think, was the last one.
Thank you, Trustee Rios. Spell checker. Okay, great. President and board reports.
Okay, so tonight I'd like to highlight two important changes. One that goes into effect in fall of 2025. And for information, our priority registration opens next week on April 22nd. And ahead of that, we've had an information campaign for our students about common course numbering. So I talked about this briefly in my September report, but now it is upon us. So we have 6 classes that have been renamed and renumbered. And the system that the state has given us is common course numbering courses all start with the letter C. And then if there are multiple levels, they start at 1,000. So every course in the freshman level course is C1000 within that particular discipline. And you'll see, like for English, the second level course in that series is C1001. So that's how the system will work. So for fall, we have 2 English classes that have been renumbered, and then communication studies, introduction to public speaking, and political science and psychology. So when you go to our fall class schedule, you'll see them now with this numbering. And of course, we have many continuing students who may have gotten used to the idea that they're supposed to be taking English 120 or psychology 120. So we had a very extensive communication plan, and I'd like to acknowledge the very important and helpful work of our communications office and our PIO in helping develop that plan. We communicated initially in late March and early May through our website, the student newsletter, and also a banner and canvas that students see every time they open their class. We also have notices of this crosswalk showing this class equals this class on all of these websites. You can see our Welcome Center, our Pathways page, A&R Counseling, the Office of Academic Affairs Placement, and the Student Affairs homepage. So if students are looking in any of those places, they will find that crosswalk. And there's also a lot of work, of course, that occurs behind the scenes to prepare for this significant change. Curriculum updates, not just for those 6 courses, but every course that has any of these courses as a prerequisite or an advisory has to be updated. Every program that has any of these courses as a prerequisite or advisory or requirement has to be updated. So you will continue to see very long curriculum packets for the next 3 years. The Common Course Numbering Project is a 3-year project which is meant to conclude in fall of 2028. The other really big change that we're embarking on is credit for prior learning, or CPL. So CPL is an important way that we can help working adults get credit for their professional and life experiences rather than taking a class that mirrors something that they have already learned on the job or through some other mechanism. So we have convened a work group of 8 faculty, staff, and administrators and attended the April 8th convening in Sacramento that the Chancellor's Office coordinated. And we have 3 main goals most immediately. The first is to identify 9 units of credit courses that are equivalent to basic training for veterans. So we have joint services transcripts, which are the transcripts that a veteran would receive upon discharge from one of the branches of the military. And when they complete, obviously, they have received a significant amount of training. So we want to recognize and acknowledge that training for basic training across the branches. The 9 units of credit would typically be a physical education class, which we call kinesiology, health class, and then the third is a class associated with leadership. So we have a work group that's convening to identify which 3 courses will count for CPL so that it's not on the veteran to figure out which course is going to match. But we're going to say up front, these 3 courses are the equivalent. The second change is to work within the system that the Chancellor's Office has established for a small number of programs that had faculty work groups meeting last year to identify programs of study where there's a really significant overlap between professional training and the coursework that exists. So for example, we have 2 of those programs within our institution, the Emergency Medical Technician Program and Administration of Justice. Excuse me. And for the Emergency Medical Technician Program, the faculty have identified 38.5 units of credit that they can award for someone who is already working professional in that area, but may have never acquired a degree. So this is an incredible change that will enable a working adult to come back, go to school, and not have to start again as if they know nothing. We want to acknowledge all of the knowledge and skills that they have developed over time and encourage them to become certificated and credentialed in that field of study. And then the third effort, and this is going to take the longest time because we're talking about a really comprehensive review of our offerings to determine which of our courses, regardless of whether it's a career technical education course or a so-called academic or transfer course, which of those are eligible for credit for prior learning. And that is something that we're integrating into our curriculum review process. So every time that a course comes through for modification, the faculty member will be asked to check a field to determine if they believe it is eligible for CPL. In that way, we'll have a broader set of courses that have already been pre-identified as CPL worthy. So this has been made possible also by some earlier work that we did to update AP 4235 credit for prior learning and to streamline. Previously, we had 3 different CPL forms, each for a different type of CPL. We have now integrated that into a single form to make it much easier for people to figure out how do I document what I have done. So this will be an ongoing project for the next probably 2 years until we have a much more expansive array of courses that we can acknowledge for CPL credit. Thank you.
Good evening, board. Hope you're all doing well. Wanted to start off my report tonight by congratulating our colleague, Jasenia Kota, for being recognized as a Dr. Ed Schenk Excellent Student Service Award. So as you know, this is an important award that really identifies and celebrates the important work that an individual in student affairs, classified individual does. So really appreciate her work. I've had the privilege and honor of working with her, beginning in counseling and now over in enrollment services, and the critical work she does is important for not only the team but for students. So I just wanted to lift that up and honor your special award. April 30th, 3:30 to 4:30 in the community, we will be having a celebration for her. So hopefully you can attend that. Wanted to also provide an update on a really important weekend we had this past weekend. Our 5th annual Viva Mariachi Festival in Napa Valley College was an exciting opportunity for our community, for our students, for staff who were able to participate in that. It was April 11th, April 12th. We began Friday with over 400 students from Napa Valley Unified School District participating in a matinee show. So they got to come to campus early, and there was a mariachi instrument petting zoo. In case you're wondering what a petting zoo is the opportunity for students to put their hands literally on instruments, experience them. And it's a dynamic way to really celebrate music education for young people. And then they got to experience the mariachi show by one of our performers, one of our groups, Mariachi Atzlan from Pueblo High School. So not much older than these young students. And the impact was great. So I really want to lift that up. That evening on Friday, April 11th, we also had a show at Valley, or performance at Valley in Santa Elena, which is the first time we've done it in this way. It was an outdoor activity at Lyman Park. We had over 250 people participate in that event. So beautiful evening with mariachi. All of our mariachi groups performed. We had food trucks, information about the college, outreach activities. More than anything was just bringing community together. So really trying to impact Up Valley as much as we are, doing the work here. And what a way to celebrate with mariachi music. And one of the things I'll say about it is, being at that festival and watching people of all backgrounds participate, engage in the music in the show was powerful for me. So I'm very proud of we're able to take the Mariachi Festival to that level. And the Saturday, there was 2 packed shows that we had with over 400 participants at each show. So 800 total throughout the day, not including the Saturday shows, or Friday shows. So mariachi made a huge impact in Napa Valley College and Napa over this past weekend. Want to give a special shout out to the groups who participated. All of them were amazing. And hopefully, you get an opportunity to join us in the future. I believe Trustee Baker, you were there. I didn't see you. Yeah, so the powerful activity. Want to give it up also to Ballet Folklorico Quetzalán from Sonoma Valley, who a lot of our local students actually participated that Ballet Folklorico participate with the mariachis. So it was powerful, to say the least. Special thanks to Omar Pena and Jennifer Alvarez, Professor Alvarez, emceeing our activity. So it was fun to see them up there doing the thing. Want to also lift up and recognize our career fair that we have coming up on April 30th. You all have a little blue handout sheet about that. So a little flyer. So please participate in that. A lot of important liftings has been doing around that together. Over 90 potential employers will be here on campus. So very excited about that opportunity. As always, whenever we do have our career fairs, it's open to the entire community, including our NVUST schools and whatnot. So we have some of our high school students come to that event and participate. So that'll be a fun activity. Quick updates from River Trail Village. Currently, we are 43.92% filled. 183 leases moved in as of yesterday. More in the works, so we're slowly trickling up. Excited about that because one of the things we're doing do you want to jump in?
I think that's closer to 33.92, correct? I believe that.
Is it? Maybe it's a mistake on my part. Okay. Yeah, I thought it was. I might have looked at it.
I think we're sitting at about 33, 34%.
Okay. Yeah. I missed it by a number.
I like that too. Yeah. Would have been happy if that was the case.
Well, thank you for that catch. I meant 33%. 183 though, that number is correct. So I appreciate that catch. But nonetheless, what we are doing in River Trails, we are working towards really making sure that we create community over there. So a lot of activities happening in the months of April and May. As you can see, a lot of very, very busy in building a res life experience for our residents out there. So we're very excited about that. And I'm actually pretty excited because during finals week, we're doing a breakfast. I'm putting together breakfast burritos first. So I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, but I'm excited about that opportunity. And I've been asked to barbecue at the block party barbecue. So I think, Dr. Powell, you might be hit up on that too, just FYI. But that's exciting to put together. And finally, a save the date for commencement, May 15th. It's coming up. So literally, you're a month away from that. Very excited about that activity as well. So that concludes my part.
Briefly, I'd like to let you know that we have received the 50% law audit from the state, the 10 institutions. We are featured prominently in the report. I think the message that I'm hearing is that there is some impetus for change in the 50% law. We'll see if it has much traction, but certainly it demonstrates that there's some review is necessary. I think you should look through that data as well. It also indicates that Napa Valley College has been making very intentional steps to address not only 50% law, but the imbalance of funding relative to enrollments. So there's some positive outcomes there. We have also, I'll remind you, engaged a consultant from Cambridge West, CBO, who has vast experience in community college to provide us a couple of things. Number one is a 50% law handbook. Essentially, it shares with us some guidance about how to classify time and efforts of individual employees to accurately reflect the 50% threshold. So we'll announce a training program for that in the next few weeks, I suspect. The student housing audit has been a bit of a light matter because, as I mentioned before, they're looking at institutions at the UC, at the CSU, and the community colleges. I think we were picked because we were a significant new community college with housing. But again, I'm hearing there's no recommendations and they're going to close this out pretty quickly. But we'll certainly report on anything that comes from that. The Wine Education Center, phase 1 is well on its way. I've attached a report here. We're excited about the prospect there. Phase 2, the bid for construction came in somewhat higher than we anticipated. So I'm in connection with the foundation, and certainly Dr. Powell's been connecting with them about what we can do in terms of the budget there and how we can move forward. So again, we're working closely with the foundation to determine what our next steps are. We've also considered going back to the bidder and asking them to sharpen their pencil. So there's some work underway to hopefully keep that program moving forward. Our total cost of ownership, we presented at the board last week, and we presented to the accrediting team last week. I'll share with you my anecdotal response, or reflecting their responses. They were positive about the progress we've made across those fronts. And so I was certainly encouraged, and we'll see what happens, but in June, but certainly the signals were that they were satisfied, certainly with the work we've done. And I would just finish with this. Our technology master plan is in outline form. And we're pushing hard to have at least a draft of the technology master plan available to the district technology committee initially before the end of the year, which is quickly approaching. So we are seeing some progress on that front as well. So that would conclude my report.
And good evening. In the Office of Human Resources, we are busy at the negotiation table, and we'll continue to do that very important work with our colleagues, both with our classified professionals and our faculty association. Additionally, we are also recruiting. We have the numbers of those positions that are unrestricted and restricted reflected in my report. I want to focus on a lot of activity coming out of our Title IX civil rights activities area. I want to point out that our Title IX civil rights manager, Kelly Tomlinson, has been extremely busy partnering with various groups on our campus to deliver not just activities, but educational opportunities in an attempt for us to move the campus towards thinking about safety in so many different ways. On April the 10th, there was a day of no silence that was held during the party on the plaza. This was an event to distribute information about the occurrence of violence and bullying amongst LGBTQ+ students. And for what I hear, it was a successful event. They made buttons, they passed out information. Additionally, on April the 23rd, they've already kicked off their inaugural meeting for the Student Parent Support Group, but they will be meeting again. These meetings are held in the River Trail Village, and child-friendly activities are provided to allow all those who want to participate to do so. For Sexual Assault Awareness Month, these are very important dates to keep in mind. Take Back the Night. Take Back the Night will be held on April the 30th from 7 to 9 p.m. And there will be music, glow sticks, food available in the library plaza, and they will walk to the River Trail Village to show support for sexual assault survivors. Well, also on April the 30th is Denim Day. Now, I know we don't always support wearing jeans to work, but this is your excuse to wear jeans to work. And this is to show solidarity with sexual assault survivors. On May 4th, now, I don't know about all of you. I do have shoes I don't normally walk in. I have shoes that hurt my feet. And if you go in your closet, identify those shoes that you don't normally walk in and join us and walk a mile. This is to support sexual assault survivors by walking in a pair of shoes you would not normally walk in. This is a fundraiser to support Napa News, which offers domestic violence and sexual abuse services. If you want more information, again, contact our Title IX Civil Rights Manager, Kelly Tomlinson. In addition to these activities, there's trainings that are being planned that will be coming up, healthy boundaries and relationships, and microaggressions and biases. And that's not all. She's also working with our bias education response team, and we are working on continued education, training, and also the doors open for any additional new members to our PERT team. In our training and development area, all of you should have received an email that was sent out on March 17th of 2025. And this email was in regards to mandatory trainings. So we have asked all members of our community to please complete the mandatory trainings by June 30th of 2025. And as always, I have provided staffing demographics, and I do look forward if not the next meeting, in the very near future, a presentation on where we're at with our EEO strategies and the results of our efforts. Thank you.
Dr. Warnell?
I'm here to provide a very brief accreditation update. So this slide outlines our follow-up report and follow-up visit. The follow-up report was submitted on February 25th, which was prior to the March 1st due date. And our visit by the peer review team occurred last week on April 9th when a 4-member team came to campus for that. I have included the college requirements 3 and 4 and the 4 associated standards that are cited within those here, but I'm pleased to say that those are now behind us as we advance to the 2024 accreditation standards. And the reason that I'm saying that, and kind of the big bang here, is that based on the preliminary information shared by our peer review team, we anticipate that our accreditation status will be reaffirmed for the remainder of the 7-year cycle. Setting the final steps for the 2025 follow-up report are those upcoming accreditation related dates. Kevin, can you scroll over a little bit somehow? Thanks. So on June 4th and 5th, the commission will meet, and at some point during that meeting, they will take action on NVC based on our own report and the team's report. We expect to receive notification of the commission's action by early July. And while we have had accreditation kind of at the front of our minds as a regular activity the past few years, that's not going to end really anytime soon because we have a midterm report that will be due in 2026. And then our next comprehensive review, according to that 7-year cycle, will occur in 2029. And we, based on our own policy as well as ACCJC training that they provide, we expect that to be launched beginning in 2027. So we do have a lot of almost annual events coming up.
Job security.
Thanks.
Warnell?
I'd just like to say briefly, congratulations to the college. It's a little preemptive until the commission takes action, but it has been a tremendous amount of work that collectively members of the campus community, that literally everyone in this room has had, a stake in ensuring that we met those standards for accreditation. I want to give specific thanks to Dr. Warnall for your continued leadership within this space. Thanks to the Please do, yeah. Similarly, Jim Reeves, Dr. Moore as well, tremendous work. Extend thanks to our shared governance committees for their work and tireless efforts, planning, budget, district tech. A lot of really good quality work that's gone in from a lot of vested people. And I look forward to getting the formal report back, although I did get a nice email from the president of ACCJC, Dr. Mac Powell, no relation, who said, congratulations on a successful visit. So yes, it was very nice to get that. Just the last thing for me is I just want to give, if we can, do a quick moment of silence. I'm not sure if you've read the news today, but at Florida State University today, there was another mass shooting and 2 people were killed today. In solidarity to our colleagues at Florida State University, if we can just do a quick moment of silence. Thank you. That concludes President's Area reports.
Thank you, everyone. Standing committee and other appointment reports. Trustee DeLuna is not here tonight. We don't have anything for audit and finance. Ad hoc legislative affairs committee. Trustee Kishnev, would you like to give a little summary of what we covered at our first meeting, or would you like me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, sorry, we swapped Trustee Iverson and myself out. I don't know if you all want to take a vote on that or if it's good. Yeah, just wanted to. What was that? Okay, I think we're good. I think that Trustee Kishnev was happy to, Trustee Iverson was happy to swap with me. Let's see, so we met for the first meeting a few weeks ago and we looked over, Catherine put together a whole bunch of bills that have been written and really guided by the community college legislation and the state community college legislation. And we reviewed all the bills. We decided as a ad hoc committee what we wanted to support or stay neutral on. And we continue to watch what's happening at the CCLC level. They just released a government relations webinar. We're going to kind of look through and just continue to decide. There's not really a lot we can do right now as far as, advocating for bills because they're written in February, but we are just watching what's out there and deciding how we want to advocate. Let's see, McPherson Teaching Award, Trustee Baker.
Well, we did meet and we made a recommendation, but I don't know I don't know what the result was.
Yes, it has been approved. Dr. Powell approved both.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. There. Okay. So our winners were Christy Iwamoto and Claudette Chateau.
Wonderful.
So both very deserving and excellent recommendations from colleagues, and they made it very hard for us to pick between the two. So that's why we suggested that maybe there could be 2. So I'm very pleased.
Thank you. Trustee Kishnev, how about Dr. Ed Shank? We just heard a little preview.
Yes, we met and we, after deliberating, we looked through 5 nominees and we wanted to award the award to all of them. But we decided on Yesenia Kota, who is not just become a strong leader here as a classified Senate leader, but she's also been a great example of going above and beyond in the admissions office she's in now, but also going back to her time in the counseling office. And that award will be given on April 30th at 3:30.
Thank you, Trustee Kishnev. Trustee Iverson, do you have anything to report on DOS?
I do. We met on the 25th of March. And I kind of left that meeting feeling that we should probably have a DAS presentation to the board at some point, because there's a lot going on. The DAS written report that we were provided, we should discuss that in full understanding. And there's a lot to mention about the food service activities. And you guys probably know, but in addition, DAS programs include and I listed out 24, but one athletics, chemistry club, dance and dance programs, Viva Mariachi, robotics club, Moja, Veterans Resource Center. I mean, there's a long list of programs that DAS can, so look forward to bringing that to you guys in the future.
Thank you, Trustee Iverson. Trustee Reyes, do you have anything on VWT? Okay. All right, Trustee Dodd's not here to give us a report on the foundation. Let's move to future agenda items. Are there any future agenda item requests?
I've been wondering about whether the board would be interested in making any kind of statement regarding the federal government's attack on education. And particularly, you know, withholding of funding and just everything that's going on.
I would support that.
Any other comments?
That crossed my mind. I guess I would say it depends on what exactly we're saying and how.
We can talk about it next month. Thanks, Trustee Baker.
Corey administration.
I'd like to go ahead and request the DAS presentation that Trustee Iverson mentioned. I'd love to see a presentation.
You arrange that, Trustee Iverson? Okay. All right. Trustee and board chair reports. I want to start by just congratulating student trustee Gonzalez for the several awards your Honor Society received at the Phi Theta Kappa Spring Regional Conference. I've got a list here I printed out. You all received a 5-star chapter award, a community project regional award, cultivating leadership regional award, a 2nd place college project award, and a 3rd place honors and action award. I just wanted to really congratulate you and your whole team for this work. I know you've been working really hard. Congratulations. Very impressive. And now, do you have a report to give, Trustee Gonzalez?
First off, thank you all so much. So good evening, President Jenny Olson, the Board of Trustees, President Dr. Powell, and cabinet members. For my report today, I'd like to start off with highlighting some updates from River Trail Village. First is that River Trail Village is partnering with campus police to create a student-led campus safety escort team, aiming to enhance safety and support on campus through active student involvement. Next is that the residential education team is partnering with Napa Recycle to educate residents on reducing waste and promoting sustainability and environmental responsibility. Next, I'd like to reiterate the block party barbecue on May 9th. River Trail Village and the Office of Student Life invite all the trustees and cabinet members to attend the upcoming block party. It'll be May 9th. It's a great opportunity to for community building and engagement with students and staff. You can even volunteer to work the grill. I know they're very excited for volunteers. River Trail Village is also planning to team up with Next Up for a movie night for Foster Care Awareness Month. This would be a great opportunity to connect with students and hear insights and more about their experiences. Students also encourage board members to continue supporting current initiatives and future programming at River Trail Village. It's a dynamic center for student life, and these programs contribute to student well-being, a sense of belonging on campus, and a vibrant campus culture. So moving on, students have launched a petition in support of the faculty and classified unions amid ongoing labor negotiations. I'd like to highlight some of what the petition says. So it says, our educators and staff are essential to student success, yet their compensation fails to reflect their dedication and rising cost of living. The petition urges college administration and the Board of Trustees to accept the proposals put forward both by faculty and classified unions in current contract negotiations. Investing in student success means investing in their fair wages. So the petition has 31 signatures so far. And finally, on the behalf of NVC's PTK chapter, I would like to extend our sincere thanks to Dr. Powell, the extended president's cabinet, the Student Affairs Council, and the broader campus community for collaborating with us on our 2024 college project, the Student Advisory Council. Thanks to the support, our chapter earned the Distinguished College Project Award, and it was ranked among the top 100 PTK chapters out of 1,300 at PTK Catalyst. We also want to thank Grace and Catherine and everyone who helped make it possible for the chapter to attend Catalyst in Kansas City. Thank you. That's all I have for today.
Thank you, Student Trustee Gonzalez. Great report. Trustee Kishnev?
I don't have anything to report, but I will be at this career fair on April 30th. That's from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock. I go every year. I'll be bringing both my sons for the first time. And I've been to a lot of career fairs, and Dr. Tennyson puts on one of the best ones around. So I encourage anybody who's listening out there to attend.
Thank you. Trustee Baker? No real report, but I did get to go to Viva Mariachi only for a very brief moment. I had been on an airplane for 7.5 hours. And so I came and I did get to see the all-female mariachi though. And that was really special. I don't think I've ever seen that before. So it was very cool. So
Thank you. Trustee Everson?
No report. I just wish all of you that have a 3-day weekend to enjoy it and have a happy Easter.
Trustee Rios?
I also don't really have a report, but I do want to apologize for missing the mariachi festival. I was out of town, out of state. My kind of time off vacations are controlled by my wife's teacher schedule. So it was spring break and we were in Arizona visiting our kids.
Thank you. So I attended the matinee on Saturday at the Mariachi Festival. It was my 4th year, I think, going, and I bring my dad every year who loves mariachi music. He's an avid harmonica player. So he had a harmonica in each side pocket. And I know that he played all the way home when he drove up to east of Sacramento from after the show, after being at the show. It's a really special tradition for us. So thank you for just growing it every year too. I mean, the decorations this year and the churros, it gets better every single year. I also attended the classified lunch, which is always really great to see everybody, and the president's lunch last week, which was really great to tour the Wine Education Center, see what's going on in there. The classrooms are beautiful. So lots of good stuff happening this time of year on the campus. Yeah, busy. All right. Our next regular meeting is May 8th. It's a week early because of commencement. And if there are no objections, this meeting is adjourned at 6:56 p.m.